Creativity is an addiction. Unplugged because we will always say yes to creativity. Totally Uncut because we all make mistakes. So let's turn it into a tool. This is Arroe Unplugged. I've been working on this new daily discipline. And that is you cannot go to your emails at any time when you're inside the production studio. When you're in this place of sharing, do not go anywhere near texting. Don't place a phone call. Do nothing but create a moment of togetherness right here. Because in those moments that I was receiving emails, I was texting and I was calling people up because I got to book my artists. I've got to be able to have a future that I can jump into that requires conversation. But what it did was it took me away from you. I had program directors in my past that always tell me, Arroe, get off the phone. Get off the phone. Do your radio show. Please get off the radio station phone. I didn't understand it at the time. Maybe it was my age. But today, as I look back, I sit here and I question myself. Why didn't you get off the phone? And that little 18-year-old self would probably tell you, because it was part of the connection. Learning to know who my listeners were. We didn't have internet back then. We didn't have Twitter, Facebook. We didn't have Instagram. We had a phone, a fax machine. We had all of these things that were there, but we didn't use them as the tools that they needed to be. And that was placed over there until I have time for you, because it takes away from this, you and me. Hey, it's Arroe. This is The Daily Mess, a chronological walk through an everyday world. I am a daily writer, a silent wolf. I watch, I study, I observe, I learn from, I take notes, and then we get to have a conversation. This is The Daily Mess. A change is building. Am I the only one that's saying that? A change is building. Accepting it is always a choice, but how long can you keep reality at bay? Dealing with it, one breath at a time, allows the pace of life to grow in ways that clears the way that we think. But even at that, the greatest teachers, preachers, and business leaders still must face the changes that are building. If we could just see one glimpse of one day next week, how much would we change before the big change? Doctors try to play that game with medical testing to get a look at what's going on the inside. And look at what dentists do. Every 6 months, you got to go in for that checkup because they're seeing things. Your story is right there in your mouth. As a martial artist, I was taught to listen to my entire body, which I did on July 21st, 2009. I was at a doc in the box, one of those street corner doctors, like for emergency things. I had a pain right here in my throat. The right side of where you can feel my vocal cords, you can feel everything right there. Right there, there was a pain. I thought maybe I had strep throat. The doctor said, no, you don't have strep throat. I think it's acid reflux. And I went, no. I'm not tasting any acid in this. It's not. And so my wife and I, we were joking around, July 21st, 2009. I said, put those little dotty things on me. Let's see what's going on there. I was listening to my body. I was training myself for a future that was about to change. The change was building. 6:15 p.m. on the 21st of July, 2009. I was having a heart attack. Everybody thinks it's right here in the chest. Everybody thinks it's in the left arm. They call it a silent killer for a reason. Preparing yourself for the big change begins with body awareness. Your body is going to talk to you no matter what. But the question is, do you have time to listen? I was reading a story about our present day experiences with COVID. And do you know that on the college campuses across this nation, this is what's going on according to this article. If you get COVID, you have to leave. You've got to put yourself in a different position for 5 days. Students are ignoring the test. They accept the fact that they're sick, but they won't take the COVID test. The reason being, they don't have 5 days to sacrifice. And the same is true about the everyday job in this country. You don't have the time to sacrifice. So we choose to not take a COVID test. A change is building. Where is that change? If we could just spend one day observing one day next week, what would the big change be? I'm Arroe, and that's the Daily Mess.